Hello, everyone. Good afternoon. My name is Bianca Palumbo, and today I'm here to talk about the importance of technology to the bilingual education curriculum. Um, I see we have people from several places in Brazil and perhaps in the world, which I hope. Oh, yeah. And And so first of all, let me thank SBS and Rafael Viveiros for putting together this conference, which is virtual, but it's so rich and it is helping us to get together during these times. And also to thank Macmillan Education for the invitation to be speaking here for you today. And it's definitely so SBS came up with the topic, with the big theme of technology, and we of course understand why. uh, from one day to the other in 2020, we all had to become technology experts, and I know we did very well, but I also know that it's difficult. It's been hard. It's being a adventure, and so I also became very interested. Of course, I only liked technology, but I became especially interested on how technology can work for me and not me working for it, right? So that's why. So today we're going to talk about these three of my favorite topics, of course, which are technology, bilingual education, and curriculum design. And I see so many people, so many people, uh, dear people to me. So that's very nice. So to start this conversation, I have to start talking about bilingual education curriculum. And let's see, this is going to be the first change of slides. Let's see if it works. Oh, right, it did. Okay, so let's talk about the premises, about what we think about when we are talking about bilingual education curriculum. And one thing that I always hear, throughout my visits and all my conversations about bilingual education, um, is that there is so we have to put together the Portuguese curriculum and also the English curriculum. And to be honest, this is completely wrong. I mean, I'm sorry, but we have one student in the end of the line. So it should be one curriculum, a bilingual curriculum. Or in other words, in two languages, right? At least. And let's be okay. So I just want to say this like a disclaimer here. Today, everything I'm talking about today is about bilingual education in Portuguese and English. Many or most of what I will be saying, it can also be adapted to other languages, but I just don't. This is the aim of our talk today. Uh, and so this bilingual uh, curriculum, this one bilingual curriculum, should be in two languages and completely, fully integrated. And that means in terms of content, in terms of projects, in terms of as much integrated as it should be. And this would actually bring the students to a bilingual environment where they will be educated bilingually. And I want to bring these two guys to our conversation. Um, the one to the right, I'm pretty sure many of you know him. It's Lev Vygotsky. And I want to bring him because not only, so he deceased when he was 37. And it's absolutely amazing the work and the research he was able to bring to life, actually, to print by the age of 37. And when everyone was saying all the theories were based on the fact that we were born with certain aptitudes, he was saying that uh, the social environments, the social interactions would have something to do with what we would become. And this is very important. I'm bringing him to this conversation because otherwise, if that was not true, the curriculum wouldn't much a lot. It wouldn't mean a lot, right? It wouldn't actually be something that we should discuss so deeply. The same with the teachers. What would be the impact of a teacher if we were born with the things that we were supposed to have and to be? So that's why I'm bringing him. He's not the target of our conversation. And of course, we could have like a presentation, a 45-minute presentation about him easily. But I just want to bring him. And if you are right now trying to put together this curriculum, keep that in mind. Every single interaction that the students have socially will affect how much they will learn and how much they will improve. The same with Mr. Jim Cummings. So this is the guy who said that, and we are going to talk a bit more about him during the next slide, so I'm not going to say a lot here, but we are going to talk a lot about the iceberg model he put together with Bix and Kalp, and how we should keep that in mind when we are putting together that curriculum. Okay, so let's go. So this was premise number one. And premise number two is language takes priority in a bilingual education setting. And here I'm going to have a question mark. And before we even go any further with that subject, I want you to think about this. Is this picture I'm going to show you, is this right? To change centimeters to meters, you take out centi, right? Well, that's when language, I mean, of course, to the limit, but this is what happens when we take as a priority language. I'm pretty sure this student understood what he was writing, right? What he was reading, or she. So now he's playing with the language, right? And he wrote, you take out senti. He wrote completely, right? I mean, it's completely right? But no, this is not what we expect from a bilingual education environment, right? So think about that when we say that language takes priority. And I didn't put a wrong, I don't have like a cross there. Why? Because sometimes it does. Sometimes it does, because we are Brazilians and we are Portuguese speakers, and English sometimes need that effort, that extra effort. But language is not the priority in most of the times. And the third premise that I always hear is that, oh, it's clear. And now I have a question mark. And this question mark is not about if it should be in a clear environment, because that's, I'm completely sure. You know, it's being, so if you read to all the I love the books. If you need a book to talk about Clio, look at those that Else Hamayan and Fred Genesee have written. There are many of them. They're there's one about applied CLIO, there's one about what's CLIO and CLIO in practice. So there are many of them. And the thing about CLIO is, and that question mark comes from, what's CLIO to you? What do you understand by that integration? So all the CLIO researches show that the more motivated the students are, they learn more language. And when we introduce language through content, they get more motivated. So yes, the curiosity, the could motivate those kids to actually put an extra effort to language. But CLIO is not only talking about real things in completely, disconnected ways, and that is prioritizing language. Exactly. So it's about using content, and as the last slide showed, testing, assessing that content as well. And it's about teaching language and assessing that language as well. So this is what CLIO it is. If you put in a balance, you will have both in the same place. And here is when Jim Cummings, I'm sorry, I'm trying to read the comments and answer. I'll probably go back a little bit. So I'll just go a little further, and then I go back to the comments and try to answer if I have any answer here. But otherwise, I just go crazy. I don't know, you guys, but I get confused. So I was talking about Jim Cummings, and this is the model, the iceberg model, that I was talking about. And again, this is not the aim of our conversation today, so I'm not going to go much further. But if you are designing, if you're putting together a bilingual education curriculum, you should take in account this model. It's amazing. So you have the bigs and the culp. I have here a little. I'm pretty sure that many of you have been working with this, have heard about it for so many times. And I'm going to ask you for 3 minutes of your time. So we just rethink about this again, and also introduce to people who are not that uh, 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 um, that don't understand that well. So BICS is it means basic interpersonal communication skills. And imagine this is an iceberg, right? So you have an iceberg with the two peaks. One peak for the home language, so our Portuguese, and one peak for the additional language, in this case, English. Okay? The bigs, the basic interpersonal communication skills, you would learn in an ELT environment, no problem, right? I mean, you would have situations where you would have to interact with people or interact with job situations, or so that would be awesome. But what we don't see, because it's underwater, is the CALP part. And CALP goes for cognitive academic language proficiency. This is where the bilingual education should be taking, I mean, we should be looking at this. So we cannot give them opportunities to practice bigs, but also to practice CALP or to learn CALP. And in the middle of that, in between both CALPs, the CALP we learned in our home language, and the CALP we learned in our in our English classes, it's COLP. And what's COLP? It's the common underlying language proficiency. This is where we can go. It's like a huge supermarket for language, where we can go from any language to the other with no problems. So it's actually where our brain, in a certain way, in a very simple way, gets to translate everything we learn in both green and orange, Portuguese and English, into one thing, one melted thing. And for us proficient speakers, and we go there and we actually don't even know where, in which language we learned something, unless there, something spectacular happened in that class. You won't actually be able to tell if you learned that in English or in Portuguese. And this is cope, and this is what we want from our bilingual students, right? Our bilingual education attendees. So keep that in mind. This is how I'm going to talk about this. If you want to talk about this later, please call me, because I love this. Is a very it's like one of those moments for me. So do okay. So all right. So we talked about a little bit, very little bit about what we should be thinking about when we are putting together a bilingual education curriculum. And I want to show here in this, in another 20 minutes we have, how technology can work for us in this case. And some things I thought of is in planning, because of course if we are introducing new curriculum, if we are, and even and it can get very tricky, because as I said, it's one curriculum, but perhaps you have to both follow the BNCC and also the Cambridge curriculum, for example, or the IB, or whatever international curriculum. Again, you should be thinking about your student and the curriculum your school is going to teach, the one that's going to be introduced to the teachers, should be one. So it takes a huge amount of planning for that. Not only the planning, the regular planning that goes on when we are of course teaching, like any, in any subject, but also when, because we have to make sure that those two curriculums or those two languages are integrated into our curriculum. It makes sense, and we are not reteaching. Because imagine, if we are reteaching, that means we are teaching in both culps, and then we're leaving nothing for the brain to do. I mean, we should keep everything busy, right? So teach one culp, and then let the brain put it into culp. And what you're going to have to support, then it's another thing that goes into planning. So in planning, in class, so during class, I mean, just our daily lives, like your day by day, in assessing. And I think technology is wonderful for that, because assessing, and I really wish we had a word, like I wish the English speakers would have a word for saudades. I really wish we had a word for assessment as well. I don't think avaliação takes that. Assessing is much more. So um, that's another tremendous work that technology can do for us. And also in the interaction with students, interaction with your peers, your peer teachers, interaction with the families, with the world, with it. So interaction is a whole bunch of work. Okay, I'm pretty sure that many of you here, as well, as myself, had our, this was our first computer, right? We would write, we would delete. I love the refresh. But that's the thing, we were used to plan in the paper. And of course, after that, we planned in Word, and then we started planning, I don't know, perhaps in Excel. But the truth is, we can when we were doing Word or we were doing in Excel or whatever, we were just reproducing what we were doing with this computer. We were writing and deleting and refreshing. And I think what technology brings us now, with the new apps and the new resources, is that it actually brings us a way to interact, to add resources to it. So we shouldn't be reproducing. I remember in the beginning of websites that the websites would look a lot like a magazine. We were reproducing a magazine into the computer in online. So, you would have like the advertisements, and then you would have like an article, and you would read, and you just, scroll instead of turning the page, you would scroll down, and that was it. I mean, it was a magazine online. And then we learned that that's not why the internet's there, right? I mean, you can have portals. You can, that little magazine can actually become like a portal to, oh my God, so many resources and so many interactions. The same should happen here. And I know many teachers are using the technology to help them with that, and to help them bring motivation and bring interaction and bring spark to their classes. But think about it now that we are um, doing this. So in planning is pretty easy, right? Planning, it could go from a WhatsApp group. I mean, very simple, just as simple as that. Or it could go to more detailed and more bold, comprehensive ways, like, the Jam boards from Google, or, some apps that actually help us doing that. And why is that so important, and I would say crucial, to the bilingual education curriculum? Well, let's go back to, the beginning. It has to be one curriculum, two languages. How in the world would I be able to communicate and to plan and to, say, okay, you Portuguese teacher, because I'm not the teacher for both languages, right? So how can I do that? Oh my God, it's easy now. Okay, let's plan. I have this. It could be like a drive, a documenting drive, whatever it feels, comfortable, and it's whatever it feels right to your environment. But you have to have a group for grade one students and one for grade two, and even you can go even in more detail to grade 1A afternoon students. And that would mean that if those kids have um, other interests that you want to cover, or if the projects will be one project for each of the classes. So the how deep you want to go in detail with that is up to you, but you do have to communicate regularly with your peers. And to do that, technology is a mother, right? I mean, it's so helpful and it's so useful, right? So next, well, I saw here someone saying, and I'm going to mention this because it goes a lot with what I'm going to say here. Technologies. So Caroline Tognetti, or Tognetti, I'm sorry if I'm saying your last name wrong. Technologies came to help us to engage our students when well used. And I'm completely, I mean, 100 300% with you. And, when we are activating prior knowledge, this is a very key moment in the class for anything, for math, for science, for language, for whatever. Well, to be honest, to teach a recipe, right? So what do you know about making mashed potatoes? Do you know that you have to, boil the potatoes? So the thing here is that it's important. We have to do it, but it can be very demotivating. It could be very boring, in other words. So, um, I love the word clouds. I love the word clouds for two reasons, perhaps more, but two main reasons. One, because it's beautiful, right? I mean, this one was made for bilingual education, but I mean, it's beautiful. It's something that visually is wow. Um, and two, because it is interactive. So students will work together to bring whatever they know. And tell me, what's better? If your principal tells you to do something, or if your peer tells you that something can work? I'm pretty sure your peer is the correct answer. And that's the same thing that happens in the school, in the classroom. If your peer, if your colleague, the guy, your friend, that guy you play soccer every day, if he says something that you didn't know, I, Bianca, would definitely be motivated to find out what that is. And much more than if my teacher, who's a grown up and who understands nothing about she's a little cringe. I mean, she told me to do something. I really don't care. So, you know, um, this is how you can activate. There are several ways to do that. And I just think word clouds are one very good way to introduce any subject. And I think those are the reasons I like it. But and we can think about some others later. Building vocabulary, I really wanted to talk about this because in my days as a student, my teacher would recommend, or well, not actually recommend, she would request a dictionary. And every time I didn't know a word, she would just go and say, oh, go and look up for that word in the dictionary. And okay, I did, and I looked up, and probably I had a bilingual dictionary because it wasn't interactive, so there was no clue I could use to actually understand that word in a monolingual dictionary. But because I wasn't, my language wasn't mature enough to do it. So yeah, that was it. I mean, it was something I would do in the school, and it wasn't something that I mean, who would actually carry a dictionary? Okay, those days are over. I don't have to say that. But what I want to say is that going to the dictionary is such a wonderful tool for kids to learn, because they know how to ask Alexa how to say pineapple in Russian, for example. But Alexa won't actually open that window to knowledge as other resources in the new dictionaries, the online dictionaries. And the one I'm showing here is macmillandictionary.com for obvious reasons, but also because it brings so many resources that can actually find a way to put this practice, to put going to the dictionary as a daily thing for them. And now they know where to go. They don't go to just Google and then get the first one that sometimes are very wrong. So this one, so I love this because, okay, I go to the dictionary, I'm trying to find what landscape means. All right, this is for my activity. My teacher gave me an activity, and it was saying, learning landscape, and I didn't know what it meant, and I want to know what landscape is. So I go there. But when I open that page, I see buzzword. And here I see Zoom. And it says, what is it? To communicate with someone using the video conferencing service Zoom. And I know that Zoom now, it's not only those sounds, but it's also a verb. And that we've been using a lot, and every day I'm going to find a new one here. So what's the word that was shown and it was used in the news mostly over this week? And then I have here the same with the open dictionary. Also, I'm going to find uh, the same thing, but now not from the news, but from the open, what's the name, that crowdsourced, open sourced dictionaries. So now it's interesting. Now it's not going to the dictionary, it's actually learning new things, learning new information. And I love this one. I had to put here, we have frequent emojis. And this is so important. I mean, an emoji can be so many things with a little picture, little yellow picture. And here you can have a dictionary for that. So, how motivated do you think your students would be if they had to go and find out what one or another meant? So, okay, enough of that, but just keep that in mind. Add dictionaries or bring the dictionaries back. Don't go just for Siri or Alexa or Google and try and find those words. That's not, well, it's not, I mean, you cannot trust 100% for one, and for two, you are not actually helping your students to build that vocabulary they need so much. After all, they're not in an environment where they speak English, or they listen to English all day, right? They have very few opportunities, and we should take those opportunities, very seriously. A second way that I like a lot, and it has a lot to do with those COPs and the COPE. So how we learn that academic vocabulary, and also how we translate, and let me get those brackets here, that language to the other side. um, well, here's a QR code if you want to point and take. This is a very nice piece. I found an article about many graphic organizers free of charge. You can work online. And I mean, graphic organizers are so powerful and so useful and so easy to do. And that I definitely would recommend using them online. Great. Task-based activity. So now we have to plan. So, okay, I found out that my school is becoming bilingual. And now in my English classes, this person, Bianca, said that I have to talk about content, because otherwise I'm not going to actually produce a bilingual kid. All right, but I know nothing about science, really. Okay, I can go to Pinterest and find some activities about science in English. But what happens with that? It's that I mean, who is the curator for that? Who actually tells you that those are correct? So if you want to go for a online, free of charge data bank for activities, okay, do it. But keep in mind that you have to be very careful when you are looking at it, because I've seen bad things around. Here I have one that I love. Well, I don't know if you guys know One Stop English, but I've been using One Stop English since I was, oh my God, I was teacher like I don't know, decades ago, and I didn't even know it was Macmillan's. So that was a like a surprise, very good surprise when I came to Macmillan to learn that it's one of the programs that Macmillan has to offer. But I know that many of you also didn't know that Clio, One Stop English is a data bank for art, for classes, for lessons in all kinds of subjects, for all kids, for teenagers, for adults, for exams, for, oh my god, for professional development, for so many things. Here I have one for Clio and teenagers, and they are separated by um, subject. Well, the thing is, if you don't know, and this is the reason for this slide, if you don't know, if you haven't worked with what you, so now you planned with the Portuguese teacher, and you decided that you both are going to have a project in about, I don't know. I always go to science. Let me go to another thing on history. We're going to talk about the Greek, the ancient Greek. And to be honest, I don't know anything about the ancient Greek. I know, they existed, but I mean, that's not a lot. So what do I do? You should go to one of those banks and you should look for activities. Don't try and do everything from scratch. That would be, incredible work and not very smart work, very smart use of your time. So this is something technology helped a lot. It's very simple. I mean, it's not even the technology taken to like 4.0, but it's something we should remember. We don't have to read, I mean, we don't have to create everything. We can adapt many things. And also always adapt. I mean, your students deserve, if you're not taking your time to create from scratch, you can adapt and have a better response to it. Of course, you have the digital lessons. We have the games kids play, which are actually gamified learning apps, and they are so motivated, and they're doing the same. I chose this screenshot because we can actually see here. It's not how the program looks like, but we can actually see here where the pedagogical part is, where the learning is, and where the the game does where the game is what's the game the kid well the game that the kids playing in I'm sorry, I tried to answer here and I saw that it's sent, so it's all good. All right, so use those. Most of the programs you are using now, either for language or for content, most of them have lots of technology attached. So use those lessons, use that work that someone made for you, and it will definitely help you, and it will motivate. The media that the kids are going to use is definitely something they like better. Um, okay, I'm getting more of those. Which website is this? I think it's what Patricia mentioned. One Stop English is the last one, but we can do later a list of those. Okay, so also you can use technology with the adaptive programs. I think what's actually changed in education and in life in general is research. Research showed us so many things. They taught us so many things that we took for granted, and we didn't actually realize it was putting people aside. It was taking people from their what would be their best. And one thing that research showed us is that each kid has their own way and their own pace for each of the subjects. Some kids will learn, uh, and they're, I won't even go into the intelligences thing. It's visual, it's, synesthetic. I'm not even going there. But definitely each of them have a way of learning. And the adaptive programs, in this case, we have here BMaker. BMaker is a program to teach coding, to teach 3D design, and to teach robotics. But I'm not a coding teacher. How can I teach coding, which is very important, which we understand the importance in terms of the subject itself, but also the way it teaches you to think, the algorithm, the way it designs your thinking. So how can I teach that? And those adaptive programs will help not only the students, because they will be considered when as far as the pacing goes. So they will understand if they will be able to go faster or slower, uh, if they need, or if they want, or if they are not getting it, and those programs will support them. And also for the teachers, because it will help you to give the best and to take the best out of your students. Use them. I mean, it's not because the program, it's actually doing the pacing and the supporting, that you are not necessary. I mean, you are just as necessary. And I go back to Vygotsky. The situations you provide and the interactions you provide is what's going to actually take that out of the students. It's not just because they are doing that program by themselves. So here's something else: adaptive programs. Keep them in mind. I mean, they're awesome. It's like having one teacher for each student, imagine, in terms of content. And last but not least, because we have 6 minutes left, it's very, very important to show evidence and to assess. And you remember this was the last thing I put there. And one thing that I learned this past year, and I hadn't worked with it before. I had worked with portfolios, of course, but not with digital portfolios. Um, are the digital portfolios. So, what are digital portfolios? I don't know how much you guys know, but it's somewhere that you can, it's a portfolio. You teachers know a lot about portfolios, right? So, why going digital? I think it's so evident, but I mean, then again, I hadn't thought about it before I actually crossed with Bulb. So the digital portfolio is a collection of multimedia artifacts that showcase a student's learning experiences, goals, and achievements. So it's where you can actually bring videos, links, you can bring audios, you can bring, oh my God, pictures, you can bring whatever you want, and actually put them together in a way that you can show evidence of the improvements of the student, so the student can self-assess. And you can go to that, one a friend of mine, my colleague, used to say that it ends with that thing on the barbecue on Saturday, when the father goes and say, "Oh, look, Joãozinho is in a bilingual school. Now, Joãozinho, say something." And I mean, really, uh, those digital portfolios is like putting together everything that the kid actually learned, and they can show the best way they have. So I'm going to show here a little. Oh, I'm sorry. It went to the to. Oh no, it doesn't. So anyway, it's where you can add from academic stuff So you can have like a grade one. So as a teacher, you can start writing activities, writing resources, writing lessons to the students and keeping them together in collections. So let's say I have a collection for grade one sustainability. I have one collection for grade two technology, whatever. And then over the years, I just add those things that you would do in a Google Drive, but you would never go back to those activities because you cannot actually see them. So unless you actually remember the name uh, of the file, you won't ever go back to that. But it will be there in a way that you can actually see. So when you go to grade one sustainability collection, you can actually check the ones you like better and just send them um to the students. Over the years, students get a portfolio where they can actually see everything they've done registered in a very good manner, and the teachers can see everything they taught, and they can use and reuse and adapt. So digital portfolios, keep that in mind. If you don't know them, keep that in mind. This one, as I said, I'm showing, it's under here. It's called Bulb, Bulb, and it's one that you can buy in the Brazilian market. Okay, 2 minutes left. So my last one doesn't go. Okay, go. So I know many teachers won't have access to all the apps and all the resources and all the platforms and all the, sometimes not even, electrical and power. But I like this sentence, this quote, that we expect teachers to reach unattainable goals with inadequate resources. The miracle is this, that they often do, and we do. So I hope you can take the most out of your hybrid classes and your lack of technology, or and because in the end of the day, what we want is that the students come out of these classes and these lessons and better and improved. So thank you very much for being here. uh, Rafa is going to be very happy with me because I ended it at the right moment. But so thank you very much, and I hope to talk to you later. Okay, bye bye. Rafa, can you take me out of the live session? I don't know how to do it. I'm sorry.